Notes before starting. Except for definitions, records and transportation, all rule numbers are new. We have two heading above each rule. Amended equals the rule was changed. New rule equals the rule is new. Adoption of Federal Standards, Part 1 of 2, R 400.1901. A new rule. Rule 1A. The following standards are incorporated by reference in these rules. A. Child restraint systems, 49 CFR 571.213. Copies of these standards may be obtained without charge from the Code of Federal Regulations at www.ecfr.gov and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, United States Department of Transportation at www.nhtsa.gov. They are also available for inspection and distribution without charge at the Department of Lifelong Education, Advancement, and Potential, Child Care Licensing Bureau, 105 West Allegan Street, Lansing, Michigan, 48933. Adoption of Federal Standards, Part 2 of 2, R 400.1901. A new rule. Rule 1A. The following standards are incorporated by reference in these rules. B. Safety standards for full-size baby cribs, 16 CFR 1219. Safety standards for non-full-size baby cribs, 16 CFR 1220. And safety standard for play yards, 16 CFR 1221. Copies of these standards may be obtained without charge from the Code of Federal Regulations at www.ecfr.gov and the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission at www.cpsc.gov. They are also available for inspection and distribution without charge at the Department of Lifelong Education, Advancement, and Potential, Child Care Licensing Bureau, 105 West Allegan Street, Lansing, Michigan, 48933. Applicant, Licensee, Requirements. R 400.1902 amended. 1. An applicant and a licensee shall meet all of the following requirements. B. Have a high school diploma, general educational development diploma or approved training track and hours for child care home providers through my registry. D. Have proof of certification in pediatric first aid and pediatric, infant, child, and adult cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, training. 2. The applicant or licensee shall be of responsible character and be suitable and able to meet the needs of children and provide for the children's care, supervision, and protection. 4. The applicant and licensee shall submit all required information, reports, in the application, along with the applicable fee listed under Section 5 meters of the Act, MCL 722.115 meters in the manner prescribed by the Department. Licensee Requirements, Part 1 of 3, R 400.1903 amended. 1. A licensee shall do all of the following. A. Be present in the child care home on a daily basis when the child care home is in operation and provide direct care and supervision for the majority of time children in care with either of the following exceptions. I. When the licensee is on vacation or takes personal leave, which must not exceed 20 days within a calendar year. The 20 days of vacation or personal leave means the licensee is absent the entire day or not less than 51% of the day when the child care home is operating. A licensee may have a short periodic absence from the child care home. E. When the licensee is undergoing medical treatment and subsequent recovery. Licensee Requirements, Part 2 of 3, R 400.1903 amended. 1. A licensee shall do all of the following. D. Maintain a record of the dates of licensee absences. F. Report to the Department within 3 business days, in the manner prescribed by the Department, any changes in the household composition or when any new or existing member of the household or staff has any of the following. V. Was admitted to, or released from, a correctional facility. V. Was admitted to, or released from, a health facility or agency that was providing mental health or substance use disorder treatment services to the individual. G. Notify staff of the staff's duty to report to the licensee any actions listed in this rule. Licensee Requirements, Part 3 of 3, R 400.1903 New Rule. 1. A licensee shall do all of the following. H. Ensure all staff complete the child care home new hire training as specified in R 400.1923 and professional development training as specified in R 400.1924. This new rule requires the licensee to ensure that all staff complete new hire training and ongoing professional development. Volunteers conducive to welfare of children. R 400.1903 amended. 1. A licensee shall do all of the following. L. Ensure that all personnel, members of the household, and volunteers conduct themselves in a manner that is conducive to the welfare of children. This amendment adds volunteers to the group of individuals who must conduct themselves in a manner conducive to children's welfare. Use of a controlled substance. R 400.1903 New Rule. 1. A licensee shall do all of the following. M. Ensure that all personnel, members of the household and volunteers that use a controlled substance outside of child use space that is prescribed to the individual, does not impair the individual's ability to supervise, care and protect the children in care. Licensee requirements. R 400.1903 amended. 1. A licensee shall do all of the following. N. Have present at all times at least one individual who has access to and understands all of the following information. O. Cooperate with the department by ensuring that all individuals requiring a comprehensive background check are entered into the child care background check system and processed for eligibility as required by Sections 5N and 5Q of the Act, MCL 722.115N and 722.115Q, and R 400.1919. P. Provide identifying information to the department in a manner as prescribed by the department on both of the following individuals who are associated with the child care license. Reporting abuse and neglect. Part 1 of 2. R 400.1903 New Rule. 1. A licensee shall do all of the following. Q. Ensure that the personnel, volunteers, and adult members of the household do all of the following. I. Make an immediate verbal report to the Department of Health and Human Services, Children's Protective Services, by telephone at 1-855-444-3911, on reasonable cause to suspect child abuse or child neglect. The verbal report must be followed by submission of the written report within 72 hours of the verbal report. Reporting abuse and neglect. Part 2 of 2. R 400.1903 New Rule. 1. A licensee shall do all of the following. Q. Ensure that the personnel, volunteers, and adult members of the household do all of the following. E. Sign and date a written statement at the time of initial license application, on hiring or before volunteering, and indicate all of the following information. A. The individual is aware that abuse and neglect of children is against the law. B. The individual is informed of the child care home's policies on child abuse and neglect. C. The individual knows they are mandated reporters of child abuse and child neglect and are required by law to immediately report suspected abuse and neglect to the Department of Health and Human Services and Children's Protective Services, as described in paragraph I of this subdivision. Sex Offender Registry. R 400.1903 New Rule. 1. A licensee shall do all of the following. R. Ensure that all supervised volunteers and child care assistants receive a public sex offender registry clearance by the licensee against the state sex offender registry or the national sex offender registry before having any contact with a child in care. A copy of this clearance must be maintained on file at the child care home. S. Have a written policy regarding screening and supervision of personnel and volunteers, including volunteers who are parents of a child in care. The policy must include a statement that any personnel or volunteer registered on either the state sex offender registry or the national sex offender registry is prohibited from having contact with children in care. Child care home records. R 400.1906 amended. 1. A licensee shall maintain a file for each staff and driver that includes all of the following. C. A statement signed by a licensed physician or physician's designee that attests to the individual's mental and physical health. Must be updated as follows. D. Other physician attestations and records as required in R 400.1933. 2. The records in this rule must be retained for the duration of the individual's employment and a minimum of 2 years after the individual has left the employment of the licensee. Licensing Notebook Part 1 of 2. R 400.1906 New Rule 3. There must be a current licensing notebook that includes all licensing inspections, special investigation reports, corrective action plans, approval letters for the last 3 calendar years, and a summary sheet outlining the documents contained in the notebook. The notebook must be in a place accessible to parents and prospective parents during the child care home's normal hours of operation, or if internet is available at the home, access may be provided through the department's electronic database of licensing records for the entity. Licensing Notebook Part 2 of 2. R 400.1906 New Rule 4. The licensing notebook must be maintained and retained until the license is closed. 5. The records required by the Act and these rules must be retained for a minimum of 2 years or longer as specified in these rules and made available to the department on request. Child's Records, R 400.1907 Amended and New Rule 1. Before a child's initial attendance, a licensee shall obtain the following documents. A completed child information card on a form provided by the department or a comparable substitute approved by the department that must be maintained on file via hard copies at the child care home. B. A child in care statement or receipt using a form provided by the department and signed by the parent certifying all of the following. V. If the child care home was built before 1978, the licensee shall inform the parents of each child in care and all personnel and volunteers of the potential presence of lead-based paint or lead dust hazards, unless the licensee maintains documentation from a lead testing professional that the child care home is lead safe. V. Notice of the availability of the child care home's licensing notebook and that it contains the items described in R 400.1906. 3. Daily Attendance Records, R 400.1907 Amended. 3. A child care home shall keep on file an accurate record of daily attendance at the child care home that includes each child's first and last name and each child's arrival and departure time. 4. Children's records required by the department must be maintained on file as indicated in this rule, immediately accessible, and stored in a location known to all personnel. 5. The records in this rule must be retained on file for a minimum of 2 years after the date a child is no longer being cared for in the child care home. McKinney-Vento, R 400.1907 New Rule 6. A child care home that enrolls a homeless child pursuant to Section 722 of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Assistance Improvements Act of 2001, as amended by Section 9102 of the Every Student Succeeds Act, 42 U.S.C. 11432, shall not be cited for noncompliance when a homeless child is unable to produce immunization records. The licensee shall keep on file at the child care home any documentation of referring a child to the local educational agency liaison for homeless children and youths. Rule Variances, R 400.1908 Amended and New Rule 2. The decision of the department, including the conditions under which the variance was granted, must be maintained on file at the child care home. 3. The granted variance remains in effect for as long as the licensee continues to comply with the conditions of the variance or may be time limited. 4. Variances must not be granted from statutory requirements. This concludes the end of Part 1 Licensing Process and Procedures video.